So what do we do? And I think, as Juliet said at the outset, this is not a new issue. This is something that's been debated for decades. I don't have an answer. I don't think there is a clear answer. But probably why events like this are so important is to kind of bring together a range of perspectives and look across different, whether it's campaigning, policy, law, to see what could be achieved. And one option, of course, could be we amend the refugee protection framework. We bring climate refugees within that framework. I think that would be unachievable. There are 145 states, I think of the 146 of the 195 countries who sign up to the Refugee Convention, so a large majority. But if one was going to look internationally about how we amend the international protection framework, you would need a huge global consensus. My view is that is unrealistic. I mean, of course, there is precedent for this. I think often people forget that the 1951 Refugee Convention, at its inception, only protected European people who were displaced in the context of World War II. It was only in 1967 that internationally everyone said, well, no, that geographical and temporal limitation is wrong, and it will extend across the world. So we see that there are examples of kind of radical reform, but I think we are in a very different place than we were in 1969. There are other areas, kind of other regions of the world that have a different approach. And I think quite interesting to think that the Global South, as we've said, are the main recipients of the brunt of climate change. But actually, in Africa and the Americas region, they do have a more expansive refugee definition that accommodates climate change. It allows for protection for people who have been displaced due to serious breakdown of public order. And so that can be your drought, your famine leading to land disputes. That makes you a refugee in Africa and the Americas. So that is an option. But as I say, I'm not sure that either we would have the political will in the UK, nor would we likely to have the political will more broadly. And knowing what I think everyone in this room knows about the extent to which refugees and those seeking asylum are already scapegoated, potentially expanding a definition is likely to dilute protection for all and therefore not achieve the purpose. And importantly, I think where things fall down, and I think Asad's going to touch on this, is that what we're talking about in the refugee framework is the protection for people who are forced to move. But maybe we should be conceiving the issue differently. Maybe we should be looking at assisting people to stay in their home areas, so focusing on that before people are forced to flee and take very dangerous journeys. So there are other options. One could look at safe and legal routes. Those of us who work a lot on immigration kind of in the legal or advice context find that phrase infuriating because it's the government response, people should come by safe and legal routes. The reality is there are very few, but we've seen from the, I think it's 180,000 Ukrainians, the 250,000 nationals from Hong Kong, we are able to offer routes if we need to. So an option, rather than formalizing something in an international or even a regional framework, maybe to get, this maybe through policy and advocacy, get the UK government to a position that it would be willing to open these types of exceptional short-term temporary stay visas, humanitarian visas, to help people who have been displaced in the short term.